good morning. This is Frank Lee, Director of the Macon County Emergency Management Agency in the Office of Homeland Security in Tuskegee, Alabama, bringing you an update on our COVID activities in Macon County. We'll wait a few minutes to allow any of our citizens that are interested in getting information to join this live broadcast. Over the last few days, there have been a lot of activities that have come across the media in regard to Macon County. Therefore, I felt it incumbent upon myself to come before the community as we do each week and provide our COVID activity and our updates for Macon County. I'll wait just a few moments, but while we're waiting, I want to commend our local COVID-19 task force in Macon County that has been meeting each week with a number of our volunteers in our county. A lot of our citizens have been working very diligently along with our office to help flatten the curve of COVID-19 in Macon County. We want to thank all of the citizens in our county for volunteering your services in regard to working with the Macon County Emergency Management Office and the Office of Homeland Security in Macon County to try to flatten the curve of COVID activities in Macon County. In fact, we just concluded a subcommittee of our local COVID-19 task force. Many of our citizens have come together in unity to work on behalf of the citizens of Macon County to coordinate and disseminate useful information in regard to our COVID activities in Macon County. Currently, we have 519 positive cases that have been reported to the Alabama Department of Public Health since we started our tracking and tracing in March. We have a total of 19 fatalities that have been reported to the Alabama Department of Public Health for COVID-19 in our county. We have said from time to time when our cases are reported, there also is somewhat of a misinformation factor involved in our testing because we border 5 counties in Macon County, and a lot of times our citizens have addresses that are reflected on the rolls of Tallapoosa, Bullock, Montgomery, Lee, and Russell counties. So from time to time, those numbers are sent to the health department where citizens are Macon County residents and vice versa. So from time to time, we do have a little confusion in regard to numbers that have been reported to the Alabama Department of Public Health. But those numbers are current, and over the last few days, there's been a lot of concern about our county being placed in the red status, which means that we are high risk for COVID activities in our county. We're in the process of collecting data to determine where those hotspots are, where those areas are. We are not at liberty to provide any names or any locations, but we will be working very diligently to continue to encourage our citizens to practice social distancing, be able to continue to wear face coverings, and to avoid large crowds and large congregations. We want to commend our pastors and our faith-based community in Macon County for continuing to have and to establish virtual broadcasts for your various church worship services. We realize that we all like to attend church, but at this time we continue to discourage large gatherings in church congregations that are meeting that are meeting in regard to this pandemic can be quite dangerous. However, we do respect the fact that some churches are meeting, and we hope and pray that they are practicing social distancing in their various facilities. The most important thing that I want to remind our citizens this morning that the Macon County Emergency Management Agency and the Office of Homeland Security, in conjunction with the Alabama Department of Public Health, will have drive-up COVID-19 testing tomorrow. That's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, October 15th, at the Farmers Market on Highway 80 West in Shorter, Alabama. The Shorter Farmers Market is just across the street from the town hall in the city of Shorter. You can access the Shorter Farmers Market by Highway 80 West, and it's right in front of the Shorter Town Hall. So we want to encourage all Macon Countyans. You don't have to live in West Macon County. You don't have to live in Shorter. You can call 334-727-1800. You can call that number now and make arrangements, make an appointment to get tested for COVID-19 tomorrow in Macon County. Our office is working very diligently with all of our townships, all of our city, and all of our public entities to make sure that we are taking advantage of the CARES Act monies. These monies are set aside by the federal government for reimbursement for COVID-type activities in our county, providing PPE, supplies, and all the necessary supplies and services that have been unbudgeted in the various budgets will be reimbursed once they have been approved by the federal government through the CARES Act. We also are making application here in Macon County to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for also unbudgeted expenses that we are experiencing now for our COVID-related mitigation in our county. We want to just continue to remind you that we are still in the midst of this very horrific pandemic. This pandemic is still daily taking lives. It's causing hospitals to reach their capacity. It's encouraging emergency rooms to have an overload, a patient overflow. And we are certainly not out of the woods in regard to COVID activity in Macon County. We also would like to just remind the citizens here in our county that the ambulance service that we have in our county, Haynes Ambulance is our ambulance contractor, and Haynes has made it very clear to us that they have a very strenuous protocol in regarding to transporting patients to our surrounding healthcare facilities. Basically, once a person calls 911 and they are transported to an area hospital, the ambulance provider must stay at that facility until that person is cleared and tested. If that person tests and the tests come back positive, there are two options. The ambulance provider would actually make sure that person is admitted in that facility, and if that facility does not have ample bed space, they're going to refer them to another facility. In essence, what that does is kind of ties up the ambulance in our county. So we are asking our citizens to please be very vigilant in calling 911 for an ambulance. A lot of times the situation is that a person can be transported by POV, personal owned vehicle, to a facility, and we're not discouraging you from calling 911 and actually summoning an ambulance if necessary, but we're asking you to please be very diligent in calling 911. So many times we get ambulance calls that don't really multiply and don't really come to the fact that there's really an emergency. That problem multiplies, I should say, when we call and don't really need an ambulance. It does create a problem for our citizens in regarding to those who really need an ambulance service. We want to remind our citizens that daily testing is done on Thursdays at the Macon County Health Department between the hours of 1 and 3. You can go by the health department on Thursdays and get tested from walk-in basis. But we will continue to provide drive-up tested for COVID activity in Macon County at least once a week, and this week will be at the Farmers Market in Shorter, Alabama on Highway 80 West in our county. We just want to remind our citizens that we are still in the census tract. Census 2020 is something that we're encouraging all of our citizens to take part in. Those funds that are provided by the federal government as a result of the census count does go to help mitigate activities like COVID activity and COVID-19 in our county. $1,600 a year is allocated by the federal government for each citizen that lives in Macon County. That constitutes $16,000 over the 10-year period that we have for census tracking in our county. We would just like to remind everyone that we are continuing to monitor all activities in our county. Sheriff Bronson and I talked this morning on our news update regarding large gatherings. We have had several complaints regarding gatherings in our county. We have checked those complaints out, and in most cases, everyone has complied with the state guidance as far as groups and activities. If you are having an event, we want to continue to ask you to please keep those best practices in mind. Wear face covering, practice social distancing, and also avoid, when you can, large crowds and organizations. Macon Countyans as a whole have been very helpful in regard to fighting this COVID activity in our county. And we want to remind you, and we want to ask you to continue to do that, because the life you save may be your very own. We want to stay and keep everybody healthy. We want to avoid our citizens contracting COVID-19. And you can do that by abiding by the laws and the best practices that have been passed on to us by the Center for Disease Control and the Alabama Department of Public Health. We want to remind our citizens that November 3rd is Election Day in our country. All of our polling places in our county will be sanitized, and if you want to avoid the rush of the lines of voting on November 3rd, you have until November 30th to pick up an absentee ballot at the Macon County Circuit Clerk's Office. The Honorable David Love, the Honorable James Cooper, and the Honorable Sheriff Andre Bronson are our election commission in our county. And the Circuit Clerk's Office will provide a ballot where you can vote during the same time you secure your ballot for the November 3rd election in our county. If you do decide to take your ballot, you can take it with you and mail it in, but it has to be in by the 30th of November. The 30th of November is also the cutoff date for voting absentee in our county. We want to remind all of our citizens, if you need information regarding testing, you can go to the Macon County Emergency Management Facebook page, where we will provide update information on COVID testing and COVID activities in our county. We want to just thank you very much for allowing us a few moments to discuss our current COVID-19 situation in our county, and we are daily working on mitigation efforts to do our level best to flatten the curve of COVID-19 in Macon County. This is Frank Lee, Director of the Macon County Emergency Management Agency and the Office of Homeland Security, thanking you very much for allowing us a little of your time to allow us to update you on the COVID activities in Macon County. Thank you very much, and have a safe and productive day.